Oh, what's up, guys? This is Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our UPA-D League Season 4 Week 9 Team Builder. I know this season feels like it's gone on for a while. There's only 2 weeks left before playoffs. It is a 10-week season. We are taking on Stibe and the Helsinki High Jump Kicks. He is currently first in the league and a very likely round 1 playoff opponent. In fact, if the playoffs started today, he would be our round 1 opponent. So I'm a little bit sketched out by this one. You know, there's probably no reason for me to be that sketched out about it, but I definitely don't want to bring my best, but at the same time, I would like to win this game so that I have a better shot at playoffs. So it's kind of a mix of some memes and some things that I think could legitimately work against this team. Luckily, if I play Stibe in playoffs, hopefully this video won't be up in time by the time I play him in playoffs, so I can probably hide some of it at the very least, but not whatever I'm going to reveal in the game. So in terms of Stibe's team here, he's got the Megalopony, Z Latios, Skarmory, Crocodile, Rotom Heat, Roserade, Alola Ninetales, Z Togekiss, Swampert, and Cresselia. Priority users in the Megalopony with Fake Out and Quick Attack, and the Alola Ninetales with Ice Shard. That is it. Hazard setting, the Skarmory with Rocks and Spikes, Crocodile with Rocks, Roserade with Toxic Spikes and Spikes, and the Swampert with Rocks. Removal options, Latios with Defog, Skarmory with Defog, Rotom with Defog, and Togekiss with Defog. And then 4 times weaknesses is the Alola Ninetales to Steel and the Swampert to Grass. So this is a pretty well-balanced team. It definitely trends a lot more towards special offense, and it relies only on Crocodile and Lopunny for physical offense in general. Swampert and Skarmory can definitely hit on the physical side as well, but they tend not to. Dragon Dance, Latios, things of that nature. Z Togekiss is really interesting. I think that was chosen for Z Tailwind, which gives you a crit boost. So you get the speed, and then you get a crit boost, and then you can flinch stuff as well, which is super annoying. So I hope that doesn't show up, but it might show up considering Stibe doesn't need this game for anything. He's already clinched for playoffs, and it's really just positioning. If he has been paying attention to what Troy's been saying in the chat, I don't think he's going to try that hard against me, in all honesty, because he sees that he's likely going to remain first seed. I'm not sold that he's going to play his absolute best or build his absolute best team against me in case we match up round 1. We'll see about that. I'm not bringing a few current things here. In terms of what I'm not expecting on his team, it's really only the Rotom Heat that I don't think is going to show up. I don't think Rotom Heat has a great matchup against me. It's definitely his best Scissor Check in theory, but he also has a Skarmory, so I don't necessarily think that Rotom is all that useful against me. I've got a lot of stuff that can punish it, i.e. Mega Swampert and Pelipper. It actually can pick on quite a few things on my team, but I don't think that he's got the room to run Rotom Heat against me. I think Cresselia makes a little bit more sense as a Mega Swampert check, or physically defensive Skarmory, which will check Swampert and Scizor. Megalopony is definitely coming against me. Alola Ninetales definitely coming against me to cancel the rain with Hail. Togekiss, big maybe for me. Roserade, big maybe. Crocodile, big maybe. Latios, probably coming, but also a potential maybe. Togekiss would make a little bit more sense as a high dragon check, so that's probably coming, actually. And then Swampert's a big maybe. Oh, excuse me. It's a little bit later when I'm recording this. So, in terms of my team, what we're going to start off here is Monferno, which is one of my memeier things. I don't think Monferno necessarily has the greatest matchup of all time. It's definitely better than everything that isn't coming, but I don't think that Monferno would necessarily show up in a real match against this team. Despite the revenge killing potential against the Lopunny and the Crocodile, I don't think it makes that much sense for me to run Monferno against this team pretty much ever. It is my relatively dedicated lead with Stealth Rocks. It can handle the Skarmory and Flamethrower it, even if he wants to go for a Brave Bird. I will outspeed it, and then I can Flamethrower it twice and kill it. The switch-ins to Flamethrower are like Latios and Swampert. I don't have anything for the Latios, unfortunately, but I do have Grass Knot there for the Swampert if the Swampert wants to lead against me and click Earthquake or something. And then I've got Close Combat there to break through the Crocodile and the Lopunny. In theory, if I have Sash up, I can do that. I don't do enough damage because Monferno is really weak, and I still have this Mon for whatever reason, just because I wanted a Fire and a Rocker, I guess. But yeah, that's Monferno's role this week. Amoonguss is my Megalopony pivot. It can also pivot into the Crocodile, but I don't really want to get my helmet knocked off. I'd rather had that stacking up against the Mega Lopunny over and over and over again. This gets punished really hard by the rest of his team, so I'm not the biggest fan of this. Evan suggested this as just a blanket pivot, and I've used this as a blanket pivot before for Mega Lopunny. It's pretty free for me to just get it in, and then he returns and does nothing. Spore is really obnoxious for his team, so I'm hoping to get a Spore off. And then Sludge Bomb just hits a lot of stuff. Giga Drain for other things. Clear Smog in case he wants to boost with like Calm Mind, Latios, and I just need to sack this. The Togekiss, Latios, Cresselia, Alolan Ninetales, Roserade, Skarmory all pick on this, so I would probably not bring this in a rematch. I think Amoonguss has not a great matchup in this game, and I would much rather scrap like Amoonguss Monferno for Kinkeldor, which I left on the bench. Yeah, fully physically defensive. It's my Mega Lopunny switch in. Hydreigon, I'm running a Scarf Hydreigon, which seems pretty basic, but it's actually got a really solid option. It's a really solid option against this team, especially if he's not Scarf Latios, then I can always deal with that. I was like a mix set with Superpower before, and I changed it to Draco, and especially offensive set entirely, because it turned out Draco was actually doing more to the Mega Lopunny than Superpower was. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Flash Cannon for obvious reasons, i.e. hitting the Togekiss and the Alolan Ninetales. Enough speed for Scarf Crocodile. Max Special Attack, a little bit of bulk. Heliolisk, I'm running a Silk Scarf set, which seems to have an alright matchup here. I'm speed tying his Alolan Ninetales. I've got Thunderbolt, Grass Knot, U-Turn, and Hyper Voice. U-Turn rather than Volt Switch. I don't know why, but basically if I suspect the Swampert is going to be Rindo, excuse me, I can U-turn out, chip it down later, and then pick up the kill with Grass Knot later as well. Excuse me. The only normal resist on this team is Skarmory, which is already threatened out by Thunderbolt, so I figured Silk Scarf was actually a solid bring. Boosted Hyper Voices really demolish a lot of this team, which is pretty solid. And then, you know, I'm just like hard-hitting special attacker this game, so we'll see how that goes. Banded, Scizor is next. I'm running Bullet Punch, U-Turn, Knockoff, and Bug Bite. So Bug Bite is if I'm in a pinch against the Cresselia, and I need a Technician boosted Bug move rather than U-Turn, then I can stay in and Bug Bite it to death, which I think is solid. Same with Latios, same with Crocodile, although I'd rather U-Turn on both of them probably. Knockoff is there mainly for the Rotom, get rid of any helmet on the Skarmory or whatever. Knockoff or Rindo on Swampert. Get rid of whatever item Roserade has, potentially. Bullet Punch revenge kills almost all of the offense on this team, bar like Rotom, Heat, Swampert. So I think Banded Scizor has actually got a really solid matchup here. Priority in general looks pretty solid against this team when it doesn't have priority of its own to counter it. And a lot of these Mons are like locked into Scarf variants and things of that nature. I don't think Sub is a viable option against my team on many things, if anything. So I can kind of punish that relatively. Scizor's outspeeding 40 speed Rotom, so I should outspeed min speed Cresselia with this, and I'm outspeeding minimally invested Rotom Heat, so I can U-turn on it in theory, or knock off, or whatever. But Rotom's a pretty good check, so is Skarmory. I think in most scenarios, I just U-turn into like Hydreigon or Heliolisk against the Skarmory, and if I have neither of those, the Skarmory just walls me, so this game is pretty much over if the Skarmory is in, and I'm dead on both of those Pokemon. Necrozma's last. I'm running a Swords Dance Necrozma with Photon Geyser and X-Scissor, along with Autotomize. So there's a couple moveset combinations that I could have gone where I wasn't hard-walled by something. Specifically, I'm hard-walled by the Skarmory, and I could have thrown on like an extra Heat Wave on there, which still would have two-shot the Skarmory, even though I was physically offensive. But I ended up going against that, and just going with a fully physically offensive with Photon Geyser. X-Scissor was originally Night Slash, so that I had something for the Skarmory and the Cresselia, but I realized that Crocodile was too big of an issue, so shoutouts to Evan for pointing that out, I guess, as well. Max Tech Adamant, I'm running a little bit of speed on here, just enough for me to outspeed Mega Lopunny once I get an Autotomize up. I think in a real playoff match, I would probably use this more as a physically defensive Pokemon for the Lop instead of an offensive variant like this. Like, offensive variant like this looks alright, but it doesn't look great. I'd probably also have, like, Defog on Hydreigon, something to get rid of Veil, or bring, like, Torn T, which can potentially threaten out the Skarmory with Heat Waves and whatnot, threaten out the Roserade as well, which I think is important, and the Swampert, taunt the Swampert, things of that nature, taunt the Cresselia. I think Torn has a better matchup than I'm giving it credit for this week. Kinkelder, again, I really like the idea of Kinkelder being able to revenge kill like Conk, Lopunny, and Ninetales without Veil really reliably with like Banded Mach Punch. I understand that a lot of stuff can sit on Kinkelder in this game. For example, the Latios, the Cresselia, and the Togekiss, but I think Kinkelder actually has a really solid offensive matchup. Gardevoir, I wouldn't even hate in this matchup either. It really pressures the Crocodile a lot, and it pressures the Latios a lot, which I really, really like. Threatens out the Roserade. So there's definitely some options there. I'm probably leaning away from the Rain option in most cases, except to cuck him from being able to set up Veil. Pelipper might have more use in that regard, but we'll sort of see if a rematch ever does occur in this one. So yeah, that is going to be it for me. I guess I should talk a little bit about this. The reason I'm not bringing the Rain option is because max physically defensive Skarmory can wall Mega Swampert and Rain. Waterfall and Rain does not two-shot it from Adamant Max Attack Swampert. So Skarmory is a really effective wall against Rain this week. I don't think most of the team is, besides like Cresselia maybe as well, but I think Cresselia does get two-shot by Waterfall. I could be wrong on that one. But yeah, that's going to be for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick team builder here. And well, relatively quick, I should say. And I'll catch you guys for the match against Stibe and the Helsinki High Jump Kicks in Week 9 of the UPA.